agenda for today is twofold. So one is that we'll understand the application strategy that you used, and second we are going to speak about your interview experiences at INSEAD and London Business School. Okay. So just for starters, it would be a good idea if you can just quickly introduce yourself, and then we will take it from there.
Okay, so I'm Priyanka. I currently work with Unilever UK in new revenue streams, e-commerce, and I am from India, and then I moved to UK around a year ago. And prior to moving, I was working with Flipkart as a category manager, handling various roles in different categories. And I did my undergrad in zoology, and I can speak French. So that's overall about me.
Okay, wonderful. So just from an applications point of view, what were the primary challenges that did you face, and what would be your biggest steps for applicants who are slightly more experienced in applying to business schools?
Okay, I think the biggest challenge that I faced was time management. So with the work priorities and your personal responsibilities, it's really difficult to find time because application requires too much focus and kind of fresh mind. So that was the biggest challenge. And then second is, how do you differentiate yourself vis-a-vis other applicants? And third biggest challenge was about being as focused or coming across someone who has clear goals in their life.
All right, wonderful. In terms of planning, how did you manage, taking your GMAT along with work, and what would be your advice in terms of planning out the entire application process? When should candidates start, planning all these different dimensions?
Okay, I would honestly advise to start as soon as possible because each aspect requires preparation and too much concentration. I mean, I was lucky because I had a GMAT score which I took 3 years ago, but even then I was working when I took the GMAT score, and what I really focused was discipline, preparing like 3 hours every day rather than preparing once a week. And regarding applying to the schools right now, I think I started really late, and that kind of restricted me or limited me applying to different schools. So I was very focused on what schools do I really want, and I mean eventually which school helps me achieving the goal that I have. So I zeroed down to only 3 schools because I knew that's the best I could do.
Okay, wonderful. And in terms of your understanding about GMAT and MBA applications, how much weight would you assign to each component? So how important do you think GMAT is, and how important do you think the applications are?
I think I would say it's all about overall application. So whenever any admission committee look at your profile, they just don't look at, oh my god, this guy has an awesome GMAT or he or she has a really bad GMAT. They look at you overall as a package and what do they retain when they read your application.
Okay, got it. Because I asked this question because someone today asked me on Quora that, can you share the profile of someone who recently interviewed at INSEAD, and can you point out 2-3 people who are not from IIT and who have a GMAT score of less than 750 at INSEAD, right? So
okay, yes, so I am one of them who has a GMAT score of around 710. I think I did it in the second attempt, and I mean, let's be honest, GMAT score is important, but more important is who you are, and it's a part of your application. So let GMAT not define you.
Alright, wonderful. So before we move on to speaking about your interview experiences, just any final words or advice that you would like to share with applicants about your overall application strategy?
So I think first is be aware that why you need an MBA. And second is, rather than just doing the research online, go and reach out to the school. Talk to as many alumni as possible because that's when you get to know the school really.
All right.
So those are the 2 advices.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And at this stage, what we can do is that we can move on to speaking about your interview experiences. Let's first chat about INSEAD and then we can speak about London Business School if that's okay with you.
Okay.
All right.
Definitely.
Okay, perfect. So let's start with INSEAD. So INSEAD has 2 interviews. So we'll speak about both those interviews. So just
Okay.
so let's speak about the first interview. Who took your interview? You don't need to take the name of the person, just an alum or etc. And what was their background like, and just the general overall impressions of the first interview.
Okay, so the person who interviewed me graduated in around 2008, and I think both my interviews they graduated long back actually. So she was a consultant, and right now she was working with Uber, which was a huge transition for her from a very structured organization to an e-commerce or a marketplace platform. So both my interviews took place in a cafeteria at London, and it was very conversational, and she actually made me feel really comfortable so that I can talk to her. So initially it all started with who am I? Take me through your resume. After that, she kept asking me questions based on wherever she found my profile interesting. And for example, she focused more on zoology because her father had done zoology, so she could relate to it, and then we started having conversation about it. After that, she definitely asked about why MBA, why INSEAD, and why now. Then the next kind of questions were more of situational based, where tell me a time when you had conflict with someone, how do you interact, or how do you react to it? Is there anything that you would different now vis-a-vis what you did in the past? And finally, she asked me when very different kind of question, that what am I most scared of while studying at INSEAD? So I did highlight her that my biggest worry is to be to interacting with so many diverse people. To which she was nice enough to tell me, okay, it's not going to be that difficult because everyone who comes to INSEAD is adaptable and friendly.
Wonderful. So, what was the length of your entire interview? The first one?
So I think because I interviewed both the alums on the same day, and she was aware that I have to travel around 1 hour to reach to my next interview, she tried to wrap it up in 1 hour.
Oh,
So
right. For some reason, this year INSEAD has increased the length of its interview. All my clients who have gotten round 1 interview invites, almost all of them have had like 1.5, 2 hours of interviews. So it's
Wow.
really strange. But okay, I mean, I
Yes.
think, yeah. So 1 hour still is a lot of time for your interview. So I'm assuming that so you've already walked us through the kind of questions that were asked. So basically, they asked you. So just to summarize, they have asked you about behavioral questions like leadership, cultural aspect, time when you succeeded, failed, etc.
Right, they did ask all those questions.
Okay, and then they also asked you questions around probably why INSEAD and why MBA, why a double MBA in your case. So did they ask specifically why double MBA?
Surprisingly, nobody asked.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what worked for you during this interview?
I think what worked for me was trying to be as direct as possible and trying to keep answer really short, so that then she had more time to ask follow-up questions. So this was kind of advice that was given to me by Akshat and by you, which was really useful in the interview, honestly.
Okay, perfect, wonderful. So okay, so let's just speak a little bit about the why INSEAD part. So what was the extent to which they grilled you on why INSEAD, why Europe, especially these 2 questions?
I think they didn't really grill me too much. So she asked me why INSEAD, so I told her that these are the 2 main reasons. And then one is my personal reason, which is I can speak French, so I definitely want to live in a country. And after that, she was fine. And then she asked why MBA. I just told her the main reason why I wanted to do an MBA. And then she actually switched on to the next question.
Got it. All right.
Surprisingly, they didn't grill me, which I was anticipating.
All right. Okay, so before we sort of, before I ask you about your interview tips and preparation strategy, let's just also quickly speak about your second interview.
Okay.
So, in what respect was your second interview different from your first one, if at all?
Okay, I think my first one was more of a conversation. The second interview, the interviewer was he's an entrepreneur, and I think he runs two or three companies of of his own. So he was very structured. He had a printout of my application, and then he had made a timeline of my entire profile with what I did, when I did. And then for the question, take me through your resume, it was more about, all right, so you started with working as a French teacher. What did you do? Okay, then you moved to TCS as a business analyst. So that's when you started doing the real job where you earn money and no longer dissect animals. So it was more of a humorous conversation, but he was very clear about those timelines. This is what it is. This is when, what you did, why you did.
Got it. Got it. So, and in terms of variety of questions that were asked to you on the second interview, so again, similar to first one, or anything changed significantly?
Yes, I think mostly was similar. So why MBA, why INSEAD, why now? So he asked those same questions. And apart from that, he was asking more about my current role where I am in e-commerce and business development. So he was asking what are really Unilever brands, and mostly people here don't know the brands, and they know the brands, but they know that they belong to Unilever. So it was more a conversation around that.
Got it, got it. So in terms of, okay, so just a quick recap. I think your first interviewer was a McKinsey consultant who worked with Uber and who currently
Who
works
now
with Uber.
works at Uber.
Okay. And the second was an entrepreneur, and basically both were not from your background. So yours is an FMCG, right? So basically the backgrounds were not matched. That is point one. Point two is that it was conversational in nature.
Yes.
Point three is that both the interviews were long. So first one was for 1 hour, and the second one was for.
I think the second one was for 1.5 hours. In fact, once the interview was over, he and I chatted for a really long time, talking about the personal life and the challenges he faces as a father.
So, okay, before I speak about the strategy, just one final question on this front. So, anything that you struggled with in either of these two interviews?
Okay, I think one biggest struggle could be when it's more of a conversational. You cannot fake, so you have to be as honest as possible. So the good thing is that I tried to do that, so I really didn't struggle. But at times, when you become too comfortable, you try to speak your mind, which could be the challenge.
Okay, all right. Okay, and in terms of just out of curiosity, so I mean, how many? So, what was the follow-up questions like? And what was the level of grilling that happened on any of the questions? So I know that when sometimes conversations flow, they keep asking counter questions to the logic that you give. So did that happen in your case?
Not really. I think what I did was I tried to cover everything. I tried to keep it simple, that what I did, why I did, and how I did. Or the different approach was car approach that you keep talking about. So what was the situation, what was the challenge, and what was the action I took, and the results. So there was no more grilling on those terms, but maybe a follow-up question on, oh, interesting, so what did you learn from it? So, I wouldn't say that there was too much of grilling in any question.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I think that's those are very useful insights, and you've shared in detail what your interview was like. So at this stage, I think.
Did I be sad that there was no grilling?
No, I don't think so. I think that's more of a interviewing style that people have, and it really depends from the alum who's interviewing you. So it really depends on that. So don't read too much into it. Cool. All right. So let's speak a little bit about your preparation strategy for INSEAD, both in terms of your application and your interview preparation. So any tips there? that you would like to share?
Okay, so I think the first strategy when the first thing that I did when I decided to apply for any B school was do a research on the school. What is it about, whether it fits in my goal or not. And the second thing I did was reached out to Akshat, because I knew I would need guidance applying, because the work pressure is too much, and at times when you are preparing, you consider something to be really important, but as a third person, they can highlight what you are talking about. Does it make sense or not, or is it even valuable from an admissions point of view or not? So
Okay, wonderful.